out there today. Of course, it is back to school for all the kids in Aiken County today. The district bringing roughly 22,000 students back to in-person learning. We wanted to check to see how the district plans to spend federal money and try to make this year a success.
Aiken County will get roughly $63 million in a third round of American Rescue Plan money this year. The district asked stakeholders how they wanted that money spent, and here's what they had to say.
42% wanted money to address learning loss. 21% wanted it to go to new technology for schools. The remainder of people said things like mental health and cleaning supplies. Our Celeste Springer outside Belvedere Elementary School to tell us what's next.
As students drift into the hallways, federal funds, those are funneling in too. The district says one of their big focuses on spending has been and will be addressing learning loss. With so many kids hybrid last year, it's time to get them back on track while they're fully face-to-face. Districts must spend the money by 2024, and their plans will need to be submitted by next week. Aiken County says they've already made their plan, and it includes what many stakeholders asked for, roughly $15 million towards recouping learning loss.
So just having the funding in place to pay for after school and evening school, weekends, summer school programs, adding interventionists into our classrooms. Those are the kind of things that we're doing to try to make sure that our students have the resources that they need, that our teachers have what they need.
And coming up at 6 o'clock, I'm working on a story about online learning and talking to one parent who says it's not going according to plan and it's created a very stressful first day of school. In North Augusta, Celeste Springer on your side.
Parents and students in one South Carolina school district protesting their board's decision to go back to virtual learning. Pickens County schools were offering 5-day in-person learning for students for 9 days before making the switch.
So as of Friday, Pickens County schools had almost 700 students and staff quarantined because of a COVID-19 exposure. Teachers groups fear this is an omen of what's to come when more students return to in-person learning, with masks being optional.
Our Adam Mintzner is covering this angle for
highs back in the 90s and a few storms most afternoons.
All right, thanks for that, Riley. When you're a first responder, saving a life doesn't always happen on the clock. That's true for one deputy with the Richmond County Marshal's office.
Yeah, he was just doing a routine trip to the grocery store when he jumped into action and saved a woman's life. Today, Deputy Andrew Justice got a big thank you, and our Hannah Harding was there.
For Richmond County Deputy Andrew Justice, a trip to the Grovetown Kroger turned into an experience he will never forget. Justice walked in and noticed people running to the back of the store.
They called me to the back of the store. As I got there, I noticed a white female that was laying on the ground.
The woman collapsed and could not breathe, but Deputy Justice said his 11 years in law enforcement prepared him for this moment.
That time, it just all fell in place, the training and everything that I've received.
And this story gets even better. Richmond County Marshal Ramon Lampkin said it was almost like fate.
He trained CPR that week and had to use those skills to save Miss Dare's life.
Those CPR training skills were the difference between life and death.
He was already working with her before the EMT and before the firefighters and everybody got there. She wouldn't be alive today if she had not started working with her.
Marshal Lampkin says this is why they do what they do.
There's no bigger impact than saving someone's life.
Deputy Justice said he didn't know what he was walking into, but he knew what he had to do.
I was just going there to get pull-ups. I never knew that that was going to happen that day. To know that I saved someone's life was definitely life-changing and rewarding.
Reporting in Grovetown, Hannah Harding on your side.
Just a quick stop at the grocery store. We're so glad that he just had that CPR training.
Yeah, and that he apparently needed pull-ups at his house, because if he did not have that need, he may not have been there. It has to be divine intervention.
There's always a bigger plan when pull-ups are involved. Well, do you have stuff just lying around the garage that you don't have room for in the house?
Cast in just about 10 minutes.
Back to our school coverage now. In Aiken County's 22,000 students are back for a new year.
Of those 22,000 students, only about 225 are virtual this semester. But our Celeste Springer spoke to one mom who says she is pleading for her child to be number 226. I gotta say, it's sounding like a broken record from last year. COVID, masks, contact tracing, virtual school, over and over. But even though a lot of us want to move on from last year, I talked to one mom who tells me her daughter walking back into school doors is causing stress and heartache. across Aiken, the announcements ring a familiar tune.
Make sure you're not touching your nose, your eyes, or your mouth.
The car line backs down the road like it used to. But for some parents, it's not all hugs and cheers.
I was nervous trying to be strong for my child because she is very nervous.
Jenny Boyd says her daughter was better than ever in virtual school.
She has an IEP, so I was able to stay home, help explain things to her until she understood it. It was the first year she ever passed a grade, which was really good.
But when asking if she can do it again this year,
they told me, no, what's best for my child is not what is best for everyone else's children, and my child was no exception.
The virtual program is only open to grades 6 through 12. Her daughter in 5th grade. And even parents in that older age group looking to switch their kid in the program are in a bind.
So with all of the available slots full right now, there is certainly a waiting list.
The district says they needed time to plan ahead and have staff in place. Plus,
we are limited by state law to only 5% of our students. So no more than 5% of our student population can be in our virtual model.
And as our districts look for ways to keep the doors open, some parents are fighting to keep their kids back at home. Celeste Springer, on your side.
The North Augusta Department of Public Safety tells us it's dealing with some COVID cases on its force. Details are pretty limited, but we are told some officers received medical treatment while others had more of a mild case. On the Georgia side, Governor Brian Kemp.
The state report card is out for Georgia for the pandemic last year, and as expected, student performance mostly dipped all across the board.
Put quite simply, Georgia's top education leader, the state school superintendent, said this: Georgia Milestones was designed to measure instruction during a typical school year, and 2020-2021 was anything but.
No doubt about that. So how bad is it? The I-Team spent this day analyzing the data, and Meredith Anderson is here now with a look at the breakdown.
The I-Team spent hours looking at data for 3rd and 8th grade. That is the lowest and highest grades captured in the report. The fact the numbers went down, well, it doesn't really surprise anyone. That's what leaders told us as parents to expect. Plus, it's hard to tell if it's an accurate read since the stakes were low. Scores counted for less than 0.01% of a student's grade. But it is the best metric we have, so let's go. Looking at our largest counties for reading, in Richmond County, nearly 60% of 3rd graders tested below reading standards, compared to 46% in 2019. And 48% of Richmond County 8th graders tested below reading standards. That's compared to 40% in 2019. In Columbia County, nearly a quarter of 3rd graders fell below reading standards, compared to only 14% in 2019. We found those numbers were identical for 8th graders. Interestingly, some similar counties saw improvements in both reading proficiency for their older kids. That's Burke, Lincoln, McDuffie, and Warren County, the 8th graders there. The same, though, could not be said for 3rd graders, which makes sense when you think what was asked of our youngest kids. Okay, now let's look at math. We're starting in Richmond County. 53% of 3rd graders met or excelled in math. That's a drop from 63% in 2019. For 8th grade math scores, some good news here. 36% met math standards compared to 33% in 2019. So a slight increase to report there. 91% of Columbia County 3rd graders met the basic math standards or better, a drop of 2% compared to 2019. 79% of 8th graders met or exceeded math standards. That's up 2% from 2019 at 77%. The divide and drops were more severe in some of our smaller and rural districts where broadband access was not as equitable, but still, at least some numbers of what the last school year looked like.
Interesting to finally see those numbers, Meredith. Thank you for that. We know virtual learning is not the best option for most kids. Learning from home is already a reality, though, for districts like Burke and Tolliver that are closed down for COVID. In just the last couple of hours, Screven County Schools announcing they're closing down through Labor Day.
Of course, we know the key to success for virtual learning when it must be done is internet access. Our Sloan O'Connor shows us how districts are working to get it to thousands of local families living without it.
Burke County students are learning remotely for the next 2 weeks because of 57 positive student cases and 6 staff cases. But this remote learning does not require live online classes. Internet access is still a challenge here. Broadband now says around 5,000 people in Burke County do not have access to any wired internet, but the school's one-to-one technology provides students with a laptop or tablet, and if needed, parents can request one of more than 300 hotspots for that connection. Work for students will be posted to their Google Classroom, and the majority of it will not be graded. After only 9 days back in school, the work is to keep students on track. Each teacher will host office hours for any parent or student with questions. Burke County Superintendent says it's a reset for the schools, giving students or teachers testing positive a chance to heal, and exposed students the chance to quarantine before returning on the 30th, with required masks and ready to learn.
If you want another look at the information needed for the next couple of weeks, you can find that on the Burke County Schools website under Back to School Information. We'll also have that link for you on our website as well, wrdw.com.
Still ahead on News 12 at 6 o'clock, what started as a grocery store run for diamonds.
Well, the American Red Cross says it has a critical need for blood donors right now.
Between widespread wildfires and an active hurricane season on top of the pandemic, we could see weather start to affect the blood supply. Our Zana Halliburton gives us a closer look at the shortage.
There's a critical need for blood all across the country.
We've seen lots of wildfires on the West Coast. We see tropical storms, potential hurricanes starting, all over the country. So when disasters happen, blood drives get canceled, but the need for blood is still there.
Everett says COVID concerns, summer travel, and even the inability to hold blood drives at schools over the summer has dramatically cut down the number of donors they see. She says the blood they do receive supports local hospitals first.
If there's anything that's left over, then we're going to send it to the area of greatest need. That could be there has been, a major car accident in Atlanta, or it could be that the wildfires out in California, there's a lot of people that are needing surgery.
As a donor, you never know who you could be helping. 10-year-old Lucas Sellers was diagnosed with cancer 3 years ago at the Children's Hospital of Georgia.
Shocked. Definitely in denial. Never thought, how could my kid get cancer?
Danielle Sellers says her son had about 6 blood transfusions throughout his chemo treatment.
He needed it. And if someone hadn't donated it, then who knows what would have happened.
Sellers says blood was always available when Lucas needed it, and she hopes it stays that way for others.
If we didn't have the opportunity, or if it wasn't available for him, I don't know what I would do. It's just very important, and if anyone is available to donate, please do.
Reporting in Augusta, Zana Halliburton on your side.
Really drives home the need when you see these families and hear their stories. So the Red Cross is holding a blood drive tomorrow at Sacred Heart Cultural Center from 12:30 to 5:30. If you can't make that, you can head to redcrossblood.org to see upcoming drives, and they need all blood types at this point, so don't hesitate.
A great reminder there. Augusta University and Augusta Tech teaming up. This was the scene today as officials announced the school's brand new pathway program for cybersecurity students. It offers cyber students at Augusta Tech a pathway to AU's program and sets them up for the opportunity to complete 2 degrees.
A deputy with the Richmond County Marshal's Office getting recognized for his heroic work off the clock. Today, the Marshal's Office presented Deputy Andrew Justice with a life-saving certificate for saving the life of a woman who collapsed in a Grovetown Kroger. We talked to Justice today, who tells us a regular run to the grocery store turned into a day he'll never forget.
I was just going there to get pull-ups. I never knew that was going to happen that day. So to know that I saved someone's life was definitely life-changing and rewarding.
Deputy Justice, which is a great name for a police officer, by the way, says he has been in law enforcement for more than a decade, and everything he's learned came into play in that moment. And we're told he was supposed to meet the woman whose life he saved today, so we'll let you know how that meeting went.
Fact is, they're always on the clock, aren't they?
Absolutely.
Well, just ahead in sports, the first AP poll